Okay, just some thoughts on Plato's cave. So let's, you know what, I'm going to draw Plato's cave. So Plato's cave is the idea that you have these people who are chained up, and they're chains, and there's these people that are chained around here, and this is all they know is this concept is do a wall. Here we go, here's a wall. And so there's these shadows on the wall. And so these people who are chained up over here, it's because their eye on the wall. And that's their world. And so over here, the idea is that you've got like flames and people walking about, doing whatever. And so these people here, they've been chained up all their lives, and they're basically pretty much born into it. And so this is what they see, is these shadows on the wall. And that's their reality. Someone breaks free. Is someone breaking free? And so the person comes out and he notices these here and goes, oh, okay. That seems to be connecting with that. And then he goes out up there and he escapes out here into the light, and then out into the world. So, oh my goodness, you know, there's this whole world out here, and it's all something else compared to down there. Now, okay, so you think, you know, what was this got to do with anything? Because, you know, how is this connected to like today, for example? So the shadows on the wall that I see are words. So let's say, you know, you're watching something, or actually no, let's say you're just listening in. There's a bunch of people and they're all talking. So they're all chit-chatting, and it's all, let's do a big huge bubble, and they're all talking about whatever. And there you are, you're just listening in. And so there's like a description about the world, saying, oh, this is what happens in this place. So let's imagine this is the world, some sort of alien planet. Okay, so here's planet Earth, and they're all talking about what's happening over here, but all these people, they're here. But they're, from what they've seen on the telly, or on their computers, on the phone, it's now entered their head. And now they're just passing it around. And so they pass this on to other people who, and they're just minding their own business, walking out this way. And so here's someone, and they just casually hear, it's like conversation. And so that might affect this person's outtake. So they're all talking about what's happening over here because of what they've seen here. And there could be another group of people and so they're all talking, And they're talking about the same sort of thing, and they're all here as well. But they're seeing something else. So here's something else. It's their own, and they're looking at. So two parties, they're talking about an event that's happening over here. Same event, but from different angles. And they all originate here in the same place. They could be in exactly the same town. But because of what they're listening to, they have a different kind of take. There's a different take on reality. So this is what is called secondary source information. So let's put secondary source. Secondary source info. There we go. And quite often this can actually end up blurring in with it's our worldview. So we have this worldview of how things are actually happening. So it's secondary source information, but they're getting the information from two different sources. And so you've got someone who's actually there. Let's imagine here's someone who's actually there and they're seeing what's actually happening. I don't know. Let's imagine there's flames and smoke coming out. And so this person who is there, they're seeing what they're seeing. And so there might be someone else who is there, and they're seeing what they're seeing. From a different angle, let's imagine. So you could sort of argue, so they're both reporting something, an event. So he's reporting on that, this person's reporting there, and they're both seeing the same thing, but from different angles. And this is the thing, so this person could describe the whole event in one way, and this person describes it in another. And so this is like the shadows on the wall, and then it infects what people are saying here, and then they can then start passing it around. So so each of these people then go see lots of other people. So these are other people in their lives. So these are other people. So they then start spreading the information onto them. It's all through language. So you got so in effect the language is language is the shadows on the wall. The words, the description. And this is where things start to blur in together. So it's blurriness of the overlap of what's described about an event, what's actually happening. So I suppose one of the best ways of actually grasping onto an event is so you become this notion of being unbiased. So let's imagine there's just a CCTV camera. So a CCTV camera is looking at the event. So CCTV camera, there's no narrative, nothing. It's just that. And so there's no judgment on bad guy, good guy, good person, bad person, and they're doing this because of this and because of that. And there's no moral description. There's just that this is happening. It's almost as if like observing a plate just smash on the floor, and it just happens. So you've got this plate. Let's just do plate. And this plate is now in pieces. And then people, got like, they're saying one thing, why it happened, and sort of arguing. Imagine it's happened at a restaurant. And there's like two waiters trying to not get into trouble by the chef. And the chef is angry. So the chef is angry. Why has this happened? And then they're just getting across the narrative. Whatever the reason, it's there, it's happened. And so in effect, this is kind of like this is part of what happens in the mix-up of our kind of grasp onto reality. So this is the thing where we start to question. It's like, okay, well, so what's it all about, really? Because when we come across something or things that we think, so for example, if you have a sense of doubt, it leads you to question, think. Because if you don't have that, if you don't have this sense of doubt, you can end up being led down the garden path. And quite often, a lot of people will just go, oh, well, that's where they're going. So I guess that'll be fine. And so everyone starts following each other and no one's really doubting where they're going. And then off the edge of the cliff, whoops, down here. And this is what happens when we're not really thinking, we're not reflecting. And so we just bang into a narrative. Someone's just lying or whatever, and they're taking advantage of this kind of group think. And to actually come out of this is very difficult, because it appears like reality. So here's the world and here's reality and this is how things work and da 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 da. And especially if you're surrounded, so here's you, and then you've got this is me in England, and everywhere, you travel for miles here and then everywhere, all over, and all the newspapers and all the media. So let's imagine this is media, and so it's just sending out all the messages everywhere, and you're here, and everywhere you go, you listen to the same narrative. It's the same story everywhere, and you find, where's the story coming from? It's this language that's coming from these radio, internet towers, TV, whatever it is, communications, and it becomes part of this is the world. So you end up like, oh, this is how the world works. So you end up thinking like this. And it's almost like if anyone who thinks differently, so this idea was that someone who escapes out of the cave, they go up here and go, oh, I'm going to come back down here and let these guys know. I'm going to let my friends know, yeah, there's more to life. And sort of find that there's a reaction to people who actually want to point out that, they're saying, look, this is crap. This is something else. It's not what you think it is. And so they're just saying, look, bugger off, leave me alone. And this is the thing, it's quite painful when we sort of realize all the things that we come to believe. Absolutely whole, this is real, this is my world. And then someone comes along and says, this is BS. This is absolute twaddle. What you've been told is a lie, and then people react. There's a reaction of anger. So it's like people get really angry, and it's almost like this support. It's like this groupthink and supporting into narratives. Now, why that happens is interesting. I don't know. Why are some people able to go, oh, let's have a bit of doubt. Let's think why. Is there another way? So why some people are able to do that, I don't know. And some people can't. I don't know. So here we have the narratives that's going on, bouncing around in the country. So let's escape. Let's try and escape out of. Let's do a door. It's almost like trying to escape. Because you're trying to find the way to reality. You think, okay, let's try and grasp onto reality. That's if you're interested. And that's the thing. So when you go, you know what, I want to find the way out of here. So we just want to get the hell out. So you come out into the world. Try to draw some trees. And try to come out of the words. There's all these words, these narratives that can get in the head. Let's do a head. So these narratives in the head, when you sort of escape out, let's go through here, let's have a see, let's have a look. Okay, so you start to experience something else. So one thing, it's like an experiment that I thought of, or just like a thought experiment. So Britain, where I'm from, is in the northern hemisphere. So here's the Earth. Here's the northern hemisphere, south, east. So here's Britain. And then you go Europe and Africa and what have you. So here we go, this is the world. What if you change in the narrative? You know what, why don't we flip the Earth? I mean, what's wrong with that? So we're now in the south. What? I'm drawing upside down. Anyway. So now flipped decided to change everything. In fact, the actual south, west and east, how about that? So you start to change the narrative where instead of being on top or in the middle, you could actually put it over here. Let's imagine we're actually over here now. Then a different country is more in the center. And so you start to see the world differently by how you speak, and it's the same thing with countries. So, you have a country, this is just a random country. And then here we have borderlines. Well, what if people had a memory loss? So their memory was wiped out, and all these, they just went. And then now there's a new person who came in, who then decided, hey, let's create something like this. There. So it's suddenly changed. So the country lines, like the way the world is, how everything is described. This, shadows on the wall, where's it coming from? So there's these people projecting, so it's like this projection. Where's it projecting from? This is description. And you've got all these communication towers. Let's draw a communication tower. So it's just all this language, all these words, they're basically going into you. It's going into you and getting you to behave in certain ways, and having a sense of doubt leads you to question. It helps you to go, you know what, let's find another way. Let's think, let's reflect, let's question. Because if you if you don't, here we are, we'll be this. We'll be caught up in this narrative of pretty much just going on with what everyone else is thinking, what everyone else is saying, what everyone is doing. And because our description of the world is part of the furniture. These shadows on the wall, they're part of the furniture. So the furniture is part of your world, it's your real. And someone comes along and just points out, this stuff is what you're looking at is something else. It's not actually it's not what you thought it was. And so that reaction in you, that anger of reaction, is suppose, could it be the ego? Is it the ego? So let's imagine ego. So ego, if you soothe someone's ego and you go, you say things which reinforce their worldview, and you bring doubt into their world. So let's bring some doubt. Hang on, you're not as, say, clever as other people say you are. You're not as strong as other people say you are. You're not, the place you live in isn't actually as wealthy as you say it is. You're not as, so these questions, they start to, it's almost like they harm the ego. And so this like collective ego, so it's like collective ego, because we're all soothing each other's ego, and it's this ego boost. And someone comes along and just points out shadows on the wall. So look, what you think is great, what you think is whatever, there's something else. And so it hurts the ego, and so people will get angry. And then the person pointing this stuff out can get attacked actually physically. And so as this person goes off, and then people go back to their ego, everything's nice, everything's smooth, it's all wonderful, isn't everything great, it's lovely, 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 and there we go. And so this is why it is hard though, to try and point this out to people, because you're kind of confronting their worldview on things, and there'll be a reaction, it's like no, and this is the thing, it's like a possession, it's like a parasite. So think of like a parasite that's actually getting into the head. So this parasite, it locks in, and I suppose it's the parasite of the ego, and it locks into everything, everyone. It's all sending its signals across, and it takes control of the collective body, so to say. And it's through language, communication, where it seems to just spreads itself around. Anyway,